Hi, my name is Brian Morris. I'm the president of Fulcrum Risk Solutions, and I want to welcome you to the Fulcrum Focus podcast. Many of our followers and clients know Fulcrum as an insurance and risk management firm. That's easy to understand because that's exactly what we are. But a byproduct of our firm and the people we've met with over the years is an extensive network of extraordinary people. As many of you know, our firm is a wholly owned subsidiary of the South Carolina Medical Association, with deep roots not only in the medical community, but also in the greater business community. At our core, we're connectors of people. It's what we do and what we enjoy. We solve problems. We started the Fulcrum Focus podcast to connect you to business owners, leaders, and interesting people with interesting stories. We're community builders, and it's our pleasure to share some of our favorite people with you. We hope you enjoy this just as much as we do.
Welcome to the Fulcrum Focus podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Ricks. We started the Fulcrum Focus podcast to just interview and share with you some of our best friends that had the coolest stories about leadership, struggles, victories, and everything in between. I'm really excited to have with us today Chris Simmons. Chris is somebody that's a friend of mine, and I've only known him for a little over a year now. But we're super excited. The reason you might want to listen to us in on us today is because I invited Chris because he's got a really interesting story. Chris has done a lot of things. He started an organization that I'm actually a part of that he'll probably go into. But Chris is a leader. Chris is an entrepreneur, and I'll probably let Chris just kind of describe that, who he is himself. But hey, Chris, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Gabe, and it's a pleasure and honor to be on your show. And I'm a big fan of Gabe Ricks.
Oh, that's very generous. Well, Chris, why don't you take about 2 minutes just to kind of tell us about yourself? Don't forget to talk about how you were an amazing quarterback at Wofford and about ING too.
Well, Gabe, interesting story. Growing up, my family didn't love my parents, but didn't have a lot financially growing up. And, in high school was introduced to a gentleman who became my head football coach, Dale Evans. And Dale did something for me that at that point, not many people had done in my life. He gave me a vision of what I could become. And nobody had ever gone to college in my family. And so that dream of giving me that vision allowed me to think a little bit bigger at the time. And fortunately, he came at the right time for me in my life, and because of that, was able to go on and pursue play football at Wofford, and was able to get a scholarship there. And it was he was an amazing person for me, and kind of set the stage of my early part of my career. And so I love people that give vision, and he was a person that gave that to me.
So you were under the tutelage of another great leader, Coach Mike Ayers. What was that like?
Oh, wow. And I'll tell you, Gabe, when I went to Coach Ayers was a former Marine. Of course, I was one of his first recruiting classes as a head coach, and he was extremely tough. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't know if I was going to make it. Well, my first football camp, he made it extremely tough, but he's the kind of person, especially later, he's become even a closer friend now. He's actually helps out with the organization I founded, and is one of our main speakers. And, Coach Ayers is just an incredible person. He's kind of person that you love, not just while you're playing for him, but especially as I've gotten older, he's become even more valuable as a friend, and just a wonderful person. He really taught me how to become a man. And, at that point, obviously having a great mom, she babied me. But when I got to school, he taught me to be tough, and kind of thicken my skin a little bit, and allowed me to really mentally handle, because football was tough anyway, but the mental challenges of handling a very rigorous academic life and college football life was very hard. And I don't think I could probably handle that without him giving me that mental toughness.
Gotcha. Now did you start out in the industrial sector, or did you move into that?
Yeah, I've been in sales most of my career in a variety of different things. I didn't start out industrial. I started out uh, my first part of my career in the automotive airbag sales. I sold to automotive companies in Detroit, Mexico, and I was on the road a good bit. And my wife, who I married, came from business owners, entrepreneurs, and I had been with this company for a while. I was traveling all the time, and I felt the desire to go start my own sales company. And it was amazing. I was going to the airport. My car was getting serviced, and my father-in-law was taking me to the airport, and I was flying up to Detroit for a week. And as I was going to the airport, he said something to me that really stuck with me and really changed the course of my direction, of my career. He said, "Chris, the longer you stay, the harder it is for you going to be able to jump." And at that time, I had a very successful position with a big company. I was a national sales manager, but in my heart's desire, I always dreamed of doing something on my own. So I went that week, just struggled that week with that statement. And I remember calling my wife and telling her when I got back, I was going to resign and start my own sales company. And that was 2001, before 9/11. And I really started my entrepreneurial career then. I've had a couple different companies, sold one, and it led me to the industrial market, which I am today.
So I know you most and best from the organization that you started. It's called I always like to tell people it's an industrial network organization, and it's got this really cool term. It's got this really cool name called the Industrial Networking Group. That's why I know you the best. Tell me how you got to the point where you started an entire organization that is it's regional. I mean, you're in. I know you're in the 3 states that us and the 2 states that touch us as well, and a couple more. Tell us how you got to the point where you started that and why.
Well, I would want to say that I had some big business mind. When I had sold a business, and I had a gentleman ask me who had a successful mechanical construction business, asked me to come in and evaluate his company, to learn it, and basically consult. And I did not know the industry as well. Obviously, I knew sales, but I didn't know the industry. So when I joined him, one of the first things I wanted to do is try to find a group that had people that knew more than I did. So I never wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, and in most cases I'm not. But I couldn't find the group, Gabe. I went to a couple organizations and couldn't find anybody, and I was consulting for this owner, and my goal was to bring business to the owner. And so I couldn't find anything. I would go to groups, and people in the groups were great people. They just did not focus on the industrial market. So in December, I think 2014, I rented a big venue in the upstate of South Carolina, and I went on LinkedIn, started calling people, and invited people to come out to hear about a concept. And I had a bunch of people show up. I think they knew I was buying them free lunch, and so they came, and I told them that we were starting a concept for industrial people, and I only wanted to select 4 or 5 people to start, and I did, and that group helped me perfect it, and we end up launching the first chapter. And now, some 7 years ago, Gabe, we're in, I guess, 10 states, 20 chapters, from Minnesota to Detroit to Tampa to Dallas, not Birmingham, excuse me. We're going to Texas. We got one in Houston. So we got a lot of different chapters, but I never started off as wanting to make a business. I started off because I wanted to develop business for the owner that I was representing. Because of that mentality, it helped create a business, and so it's been amazing. I never dreamed of being this big part of my business, but it's been huge for me, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been amazing. I met key people like you who you have a great business and you help companies, and it's been amazing about great people that's joined our group.
I like to describe your organization sometimes as it's the biggest networking group that you may not know about. And I've seen firsthand how you have a big emphasis on equipping people, a lot of teaching. Give me a couple, or one or two, or maybe one's fine. Give me a success story. You don't have to name names or anything if you don't want to, but kind of if you think about your folks that you have worked with and that are in our organization, tell me a good success story.
Well, I want to tell you when the game changed on ING, and then I want to go into a success story. So here I am. I'm just running the chapter like you, our coordinator at our Columbia chapter. I was running a chapter, which was maybe the first chapter we had. And I kept, even as I was building this, Gabe, I wanted to stay in my chapter and run it because it was easier for me to talk to other coordinators doing what I was doing, because, I was doing it with them. So I can remember being inside, went to a client because I was still selling for the company I was with. And I went in and saw the buyer. And as he began, I had called on him about 7 times, I remember. And at that time, they were doing business with our competitor. And Gabe, and the 7th time I went into him, I remember going to the gatekeeper, and she actually waved me to go back to his office to see him. She got to know me. They hadn't done any business with me, but when I was going to his office, he was on a cell phone having a conversation, and he was not having a good conversation. So I almost waved to walk back out because I didn't want to disrupt this conversation. He waved for me to come in, and he kind of abruptly put the phone down. And I had asked him, "Hey, it looks like you're having a tough day. I can come back and see you anytime." He said, "No, I just can't stand when contractors don't show up that's supposed to be here." And I asked him, "Well, what are you having an issue with?" And he told me. And at that time, I told him, I said, "Well, sir, listen, I'm a part of a group called Industrial Network Group. I have a guy that can do what you need. And I can call him this afternoon and get him over there." And Gabe, I was praying, I hope he can get here. And sure enough, I stepped out, called the guy, found out he could come. I went back in and said, "Hey, listen, you got busier things to do and more important things to do, and talk to me. My guy that's in my group's going to come out this afternoon." He ended up coming over, helped him out. And Gabe, 2 weeks later, the guy called me back and said, "Listen, I want to thank you for doing that. And I know you've been coming by here a lot, and I want to find something you can do for our company."
Wow.
And it ended up, that company gave multiple POs to the company I was with at the time. And it changed the game. What happened was, up to that point, that guy had only saw me as a sales guy. But when he saw me as a resource, I become much more valuable. So really, the ING is about resources. I think of one of the great stories of the ING, and there's so many. And I want to think about, Robert Scott. Robert Scott is who started our Charlotte chapter.
Say he's up in Charlotte, yeah.
And Robert's an incredible leader, runs a great company. And Robert and I met in Charlotte because here I was trying to enter a new market outside of my area. And Robert has done sales, leads people, and through a vision of ING and talking with Robert, he brought the ING to North Carolina and Charlotte. And success that what Robert did in taking a chapter, and he runs it like his own franchise. And they have built an incredible network. And now Robert, we also have Andrea Sipka, who helps as our state director.
She's
but when
awesome.
I think of a success of a guy I've never met before, comes in, partners with me, and he has built such an incredible organization up there, not just for ING, but for all the members. He is so focused on helping each other get business. And when I think of people like that, I think of people like yourself. I think about people like Daniel Allison and people like Marty Elliott and all, even John Miller, some of the people that helped me, Brian Finch, all the great people that I've been able to associate with. One thing I found out, to be great, Gabe, you got to surround yourself with people who are better. And I've gotten coordinators that run these chapters as just tremendous leaders. And they're so focused on helping others. And that's one thing that impressed me about you. So now that I'm thinking and looking at business, I don't look at it anymore as what I'm selling, is what I'm helping. So if my client, anybody I know needs something, then I don't do benefits, but I know Gabe does them. And so now it's almost like I sell benefits because I got Gabe as a partner.
Yeah, that's key. If any of my clients, when because I don't want to just have a conversation about what I do with my clients, and I know you're the same way, and all of our folks probably are. And if we hear, hey, yeah, this is what you do is going fine, there's no problem, but man, this whatever it is, it just stinks. Whether it's the vendor, whether it's how it works, or whatever. I don't want them to go find somebody to fix that. I don't want them to have to go and vet people that they don't even know. I want to have enough relationships where I can go, you know what? And this will actually tie in two things that I love saying. One is I know somebody who can do that, but that is not my lane. I'll tell you all three things I know about that, and then I'm done. But instead of, because I know Bill and Bill does this, and I probably say this 10 times a week, Chris, I'm not going to repeat everything Bill has said about what he does, because if I do, I'm going to screw that up because that's not my lane. You trust me, you trust my integrity. I know you just need to have a conversation with Bill about this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, fine. But you just need to talk to him about this. And why don't I buy you both coffee and we'll have that conversation, and I'll not talk.
And the vision when ING started is not it's more like a sales force, that every chapter is really so focused on helping each other. And it's not something that you check off the box and do. It's something that's part of your sales process. This is like, when we have our monthly fuel meetings, I want it to be in such a way that someone says, man, I can't miss an opportunity to go network with Gabe, because Gabe is so intentional about helping people. I've got to be around people like that. So that is that's a challenge, and it's not there, and it's not perfect by no means. But I'm learning, Gabe. You're younger than me, and I see such incredible people like yourself who have a huge future, and your upside is so huge, and it's awesome to be able to bring your experience to our organization, because we're learning to be better. And that's one thing I'm finding as a great leader. A great leader is someone who continually learns. And so I'm still in the learning process and trying to perfect my craft.
Yeah. What I've appreciated about your approach to the industrial networking group is it's not just a, hey, sign up and show up. It's sign up and show up. There's going to be some pretty good content out there, but you're really good about whatever the frequency of the activity is bringing really good people who are experts in the field, different fields, whether it's real deal sales coaches, like people you pay for a lot. You'll bring those folks to be in front of us. You'll bring economic developers type things for us. It's really, really helpful that you are willing to pour into the organization. I mean, you take pride in all the people, the chapters, and everything, and you do a really good job of pouring back into it. What do you see ING as in the future? What are your ideas? What do you see there?
Well, my goal is especially in the industrial sector. Obviously, I want to help. My goal is to help people regardless. But if you're in the industrial sector and you're struggling, or maybe you're on an island, I want to be able to have a group that person could, and it's not just about passing leads. It's about getting with common people that have common goals and like-mindedness. So it's something about walking in a room with someone that is doing very similar to what you're doing, maybe a different product line, but it's that ability to connect with them, to hear what they're going through, to hear their best practices, to find out who they know that you don't know, and vice versa. Man, my goal, Gabe, is that should be in every part of our country. And I'm not going to stop until it is. And my goal is, and we're not out looking to put new chapters. We're out looking to find great people like yourself. And I had a call the other day from a guy in Oklahoma, and he heard about the ING from a member. So we typically are growing because one of our members, they might have another sales rep in their organization that says, hey, we want to bring one of those chapters to our area. Or maybe a visitor's come and they visited and they go back to where they live and want to bring it back. That's how we were grown. So my goal is for every person that come through our organization to be better when they leave it. And that's my ultimate goal.
What do you say to the person that, what do you say to the person in sales that comes to you and everything about who that person is lines up with they should be successful in sales, but they're not, and they come to you and they tell you that they're not? What do you say to that person? You said it a lot of times to us. I just want you to tell my listeners, what do you say to that person?
Well, and that's, and I do a lot of coaching and mentoring to people within the ING too. And that's my passion, is helping people. And first of all, sales is so easy to get down to, especially to be in a rough spot, to sometimes feel like this is more than you can handle, or maybe you feel like you're in over your head. And let's face it, we all been there. And you have a bad week, bad month, nothing closes, nobody calls you back, no emails returned. We've all been through that. But I will tell you this, it only takes that one thing that can turn all of our stories around. It could be that one person we meet. It could be something that we learn from each other. It was amazing, Gabe. We did a training session about how to write emails correctly. And we had somebody that used one of the things that we recommended. He called me back. He said, I had 2 people respond to my emails a day that I hadn't had people respond in a week. So I'm thinking, wow, that's the power of this. So if you're in a situation and you're doing all the right things and you haven't been successful, what I will tell you is don't stop. The worst thing you can do is think you're successful. I had a guy, Gabe, just drop out of the ING, no lie. And I asked him, why? Is it the money? No, my company pays it. Why are you dropping out? Well, because I'm too busy. Too busy. Wait, your company's paying for you to build a network of people that know you. What happens, Gabe, in 3 months when you're not so busy? This is one of our best chapters. I said, you really need to think. It's not about the money, because we could easily find a new sector. For this person, he doesn't see the value in the relationship. Oftentimes, the danger of a salesperson is they think they're only selling when they're with the client. The problem is, if I'm selling to a client at BMW or Michelin, that guy can change quickly. And I better know other people. And so I tell people that what is a rookie mistake for a salesperson is he gets too busy to build his network. He thinks he's big enough. And I would say that's the great mistake. I made that mistake, Gabe, when I ran a business for about 6-7 years, and it controlled my time. I didn't have the time to get out. And when that business suffered, I didn't have a network to go back, and I vowed to never get in that position. And that was one of the reasons I created ING, and because you never know when you may need not just a network, but you may need a friend. And so that's.
Yeah, and I've actually never thought about this before, so I'm literally making up as this is falling out of my mouth. But you are, as you live, as you breathe, you are constantly building a network. You were building a network when you were 8 years old on the playground, and you were showing kindness to somebody that wasn't receiving kindness at the time. You were destroying your network when you did the opposite in other ways too. But you're constantly building a network with who you are and who you talk to. And you're right, things change. You know, if you're in the mortgage industry, I've got a client who's in the mortgage loans, and all of the salespeople are just ecstatic about how they're doing right now. And the owner is like, well, you got a pretty good climate right now to do well. Mortgages are at historic lows. What are you going to do when things like right now are happening? And there's lots of things in the future coming from our government that might change some things as far as the climate for how we operate and how mortgage rates are going to go up, things like that. When they do, what's your network look like? So yeah, I can absolutely see that. Chris, what do you do for fun?
Wow.
Didn't tell you I was going to ask that, did I?
Well, that's a good point. I will say over the past few years, and my wife would probably say I work too much, but work is not work to me. It's something I enjoy. So I do have to balance it. My kids are obviously a big part of my life. I have 4 children, and so a lot of times what I'm doing is things that they're involved with. But I love to travel. My wife and I, we both like to travel. We haven't been able to do as much, but I do love to run. I'm not an avid runner outside, but I run a lot on my treadmill. So usually that's the time when I can kind of de-stress and enjoy it. I do play golf occasionally. I'm not great, Gabe. So some people may say I'm boring, but but for the last, I would say last few years, my work and things have taken a lot of my time, and but I'm trying to find ways. That's one thing that I'm challenging myself is you got to have something that allows you to de-stress, and sometimes running, traveling will allow us to do that.
Yeah, I like to ask that question just to kind of also fit in a different perspective on work-play balance. Chris, man, thank you so much for being with us. It's not the funnest thing to do on Friday at 3:30, but thank you for being with us. Chris, for the folks that are listening and watching, this is video, how could they find you? How can they track you down if they have any questions about you and what you do?
Pretty simple. If you look, I'm on LinkedIn. You can LinkedIn Industrial Network Group. I'm Chris Simmons, tied with the Industrial Network Group. You can email me, Chris@Industrial Network Group, and send me a message. I'd love to, if I can help you any way, regardless whether you're in our ING, if you're in the industrial sector and we can connect you, please do. One thing I do want to leave you with, Gabe, I wrote down 3 or 4 things that I wanted to leave with you and your readers or your listeners, excuse me.
Go for it.
These are things that as what people report to me, and great leadership. And great leaders challenge you to not stay where you're at. And I want to I've had some tremendous leaders who push me to get outside of my comfort zone. So if you got somebody in your life that's pushing you to do a little bit more than you're used to, don't resist it. I love this one. A great leader knows when to say the right thing at the right time. And so it's the worst thing to do is to say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And I've had some people in my life at the right time. I needed something. I was maybe down on my luck. I felt sorry for myself, and what they've said just allowed me to rise above the occasion. So think about that, saying the right thing, but make sure you say it at the right time. And lastly, Gabe, great leaders inspire you to do the things that you don't think you can do. So a lot of times in my life, things that I didn't think that my ceiling was, I couldn't go past that. I've had some people inspire me and say, Chris, I think you can do more. I think you can be more. And so So thank you for allowing me to be on this. I commend you
Absolutely.
for doing this. And I just want to say thank you, Gabe. When I first met you at the ING, I remember coming home and telling my wife, I said, I met the most interesting guy today. I don't know how, but he's going to be a dynamic leader in this organization. And sure enough, you are. And she also loves listening and reading your posts. So you've had great impact on us.
For those of you who don't, well, number one, that's very gracious. Thank you. For the other, my little side hobby, if you're wondering what Chris is talking about, is about a year and a half ago when everything was there's a lot of negativity going down. I just thought one day, you know what? I just want to give as many people as possible one reason to smile today. So my little contribution to society is I post one story a day that I think is worth spitting your coffee out on. And Shay follows me and she gets a kick. She's probably got a good bad sense of humor like myself. So that's my little mystery side. I do that on Instagram and Facebook if you're interested. But man, Chris, thanks a bunch. When you're talking, I feel like I'm on something that you normally do during the week with ING. Chris didn't get ready for this at all. This is what Chris talks about all the time. I just defaulted back to I'm on one of your other moments for us in ING, and you're encouraging, you're building up, and it just feels like I'm in a real sales talk right now or something else. So you keep looking like you want to say something. Before I let us go, I'll let you say one last thing.
No, it's amazing where we're at. And Gabe, I for those that are looking to be a part of a podcast, I would encourage you to do it. So Gabe, I got several people I know would be great to be on your podcast. I'm gonna shoot you.
Absolutely. Good deal, Chris. You have a good evening, and hey, everybody, thanks for watching.